Um, I want to introduce everyone actually, but I already clicked the recording button. So we have Dr. Hira here as my postgrad student, postdoctoral students. We also have Najat as my PhD students. We have Ali, my master's, as well as Balkis, who is also going to do her master. So we are still waiting for Nadia, who is actually currently doing her master thesis, but she's actually coming from KICT, Kuliah of Information Technology. I also have one more student from engineering who is also doing the master, but I think today she is fully occupied with something else because we assigned her to do the experiment. Okay, so let me give you the normal structure of writing an academic paper. Okay, so I'll put it, okay, let's make it bigger. Okay, I hope that everyone can see it. Okay, so this is actually the normal structure that is expected from you. It is looking very simple, but the problem is many are having trouble with it. That's why I'm not sure whether you have a trouble with it because you are not familiar with this, or maybe this is something new for you. Okay, let's look at it together. So under academic papers, basically it is heavy raining today. I hope that you can hear my voice clearly. Under the paper, so these are the normal structure. You have introduction section, you have literature review, you have data and methods part, you also have finding and discussion. Sometimes people put just finding or result or discussion. Both are okay. And then you also have limitation and conclusion. Okay. And the rest are something optional. Of course, you need to have a reference, right? And appendix could be optional. Okay, let's look at it in detailed manner. So under introduction, I will go very slow. If you want to ask questions, feel free. Okay. So this is meant to be two ways interaction. Okay. Uh, I have to do online because some of you are not in Malaysia. That's why we have to do it online. Okay. So under introduction, it should be short as well as concise. So when I said short and concise, it means that you have to cite other studies as well to show how significant your study is. Okay. So what do we expect under introduction? You can have your background of study. You can also define your topic. Sometimes your topic is very technical, so people are not very familiar with it. So you have to define it. Okay, so background and definitions is something optional. It can be applicable to you or it may not be applicable to you. And then that's why I put here and or all. So this is something optional. Problem statement, the second part is compulsory. If you want to come up with a paper, you have to have a problem to begin with. There should be some motivation that leads you to conduct the paper, to conduct a study. If let's say you don't have any problem statement, you don't have any issues, so people will be questioning you. What's the problem here? You cannot see any problem. Then what is the needs of having the paper, right? So problem statement is something compulsory in academic paper. So when I said academic paper, it is also referring to Scopus paper. So in academic, we want our paper to be published in Scopus. Why? Because it is worldly recognized. If you publish somewhere else, it is not recognized. So you don't want it to be published somewhere else. So that's why you have to make sure that it should be published in a good journal or reputable journal. And of course, you have to have the objective of your study and then significance of your study, what we call contributions of your study to the current existing knowledge. If let's say you're doing something that has been done previously, so people will say, why do you have to conduct your study if other papers are also talking about it? So you have to make sure that you are able to distinguish your paper, your current paper, with the previous study or what we call with the previous literature. Okay, so I will go one by one. What do I mean by backgrounds or definition? Okay, so remember the first part of it is something optional. Not necessarily that you're going to have a background or definition. So let's look at the example, because without the example, sometimes you will get confused, right? So you have to see, you have to learn based on the example. Okay, So let me find a paper that has the background. Okay, so this is actually an old paper of mine that I published in Resources Policy. Okay. Okay. Am I making it big? Okay. Can you see the paper? Hopefully so, right? Okay. So this paper is about technical. So I'm talking about a company named as Linus, and then on the resources called as rare earth element. So this is like a resources type, it's a deposit. So some people are not familiar with this kind of deposit. Okay. So do you know what is deposit? Deposit is like mineral, it could be oil. Some of you are doing oil. It could be gold, all types of deposit. So I'm looking at rare earth element. So when you talk about oil, everyone knows what is oil about, right? If you talk about fuel, everyone knows about it. But when you talk about rare earth element, what is that, right? So because the deposit name is something not really common among the public, so I define what is it. I explain in the introduction. So I mentioned that okay, a series of 17 chemical element consists of this. This is what you call. Let me write it. Let me click here. This is what you call rare earth element. So this is part of the chemical element. So what is it for? Okay, so I mentioned that, okay, basically you can use it in producing electronic equipment, blah, 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 because this is something new. People do not know about it. So you have to tell what is the functions of this, what we call a deposit. So you have to explain if this is something unknown for people. Okay, so you can define it. You can also explain what is it. Okay, and then I also have a background of this rare earth element. I mentioned that, okay, so what is the background? So we have China's policy. Basically, they are trying to limit the supply of this rare earth element. So what happened? So there is a chaos, conflict here and there because rare earth elements are significant component that is used in many technological devices and so on. So when you start putting a limit, so the whole world will become chaos. So I start defining what is rare earth, what is the functions of rare earth, and then I mentioned the problem. Okay, the problem here can also be the backgrounds of the story. What is going on in the world? Okay, so this is how you explain it. Okay, so let's see the some of the paper may not have the background. Okay, let me show it to you. Simple topic. I love to show this paper because it's a simple paper. Okay, let me write it here. Okay, so this paper is about trust for zakat institution. Okay, so well, people are very familiar with zakat, right? So you don't really have to explain what is zakat about, right? People, especially Muslim, right? Okay, so but then because I think that well, zakat is something known, there is no need for me to explain about it. So I just simply straight away talking about the problem statement. Okay, so there is a pro and cons when you talk about something common. When you talk about zakat, there are so many papers on zakat, right? Especially from the Islamic studies, because this topic is more like a Islamic background part. Okay, but doesn't mean that when you are in different field, you cannot. So I think most of you here are economics and yeah, economics, right? Okay, it doesn't mean that you cannot do any topic on Islamic studies. Remember my first example I did on something related to sciences. So as long as you have the method, so you can simply analyze any topic. Okay, so here okay, so we talk about zakat, right? So what is the problem? So remember we had COVID-19 before. So what happened? Because of the COVID-19, it had affected people's life, especially the poor, of course, right? And then by saying that that is not sufficient, if you stop there, okay, you can say that, okay, it is known that COVID has a negative impacts on the poor, the lives of the poor, full stop. So even though people knows that it is true, but you have to cite it, okay? You have to come up with a statistical fact because this is an academic paper. You cannot simply give your hypothesis, give your statement, mere statement. Okay, COVID has negative impacts on people's health, of course, on people's income, of course, but give the evidence to strengthen your argument, okay? Many students, they just give a statement, that's it, and then they assume that people should accept it as it is. Cannot. So academic paper, you cannot just stop here. You can say, okay, according to Departments of Statistics, which is in Malaysia, half of the self-employed lost their livelihood. Okay, some experience significant drop in income. So you cite a paper. Okay, and then but this is COVID, right? So if let's say you want to conduct a study now, people will say that COVID has actually happened a long time ago. So you come up with another statement, the damage done by COVID still visible until today. So that is the reason why you want to conduct this paper, even though COVID is like 3 or 4 years ago, but still you can feel the impacts of COVID. Okay, this is one examples of problem statement because of COVID, so it affects the life of the poor. Okay, this is good, but then you can also give another problem statement to strengthen why do you have to conduct on zakat. So when the topic, for example, like zakat is a common topic, so you have to try your best to justify why you want to do the topic on zakat, because people will say, it is a very common topic, why bother, why I don't think this topic is interesting. So you have to make sure that you are able to convince them to tell, even though it is zakat, but there is something in it that you want to study. Okay, so the first one, because of the COVID, it affects people's life. Okay, second, you also have mentioned here, okay, when you talk about zakat, right? Zakat institution, when you pay zakat, you pay to the institution, you cannot see whether the institution will really give the money, your money to the recipient. So basically, there is what you call a trust issue faced by the zakat institution. So this is actually very common, not just in Malaysia, not just among the state in Malaysia, but in other zakat around the world. So they have a problem, they're dissatisfied with the disbursement. They think that, well, they have paid a lot, but then the poor are still there. The poor still didn't get the benefit. So they don't have a trust issues with zakat. Okay, so this is like double problem statement. You have two issues. You have many people who are poor, affected by COVID, and then on top of it, you already done your part giving zakat, but they are still poor. They didn't get the benefit. Okay, so you can see the problem. You have two problems. When you have many problems, it will strengthen your study to show that this topic is significant to be studied. Okay, because you want to come up with a solution. If you don't have a problem, your topic is, we can say that, less useful. This is one example. Okay, because I think that when I explain about zakat, everyone knows what is zakat. Okay, so I can also give another example because sometimes you need more example so that you can apply in your context. Okay, so let me okay, so just to let you know, the zakat paper, okay, this zakat paper is actually this was published recently, which is 2025 in January. Okay, so let's look at here. This is also published in January. Okay, this is a kind of latest paper. Okay, so what is the topic? So my area is on environmental economics. So many of my studies, apart from zakat just now, okay, because I was asked personally by zakat institution to conduct the topic on zakat to help them to come up with a solution. That's why I joined. That's why I had that kind of paper. But zakat is not really my area of study. So if you look at this topic, you want to turn the rice waste into some opportunity. So basically, we think that rice, when you throw it in the dustbin, it's become a waste, right? You will not use it anymore. But here, because the problem is very severe in Malaysia, especially, so we want to make use of the waste, okay? And we are using the circular economy concept or approach to reduce the food waste. Okay, so that is the topic. So by looking at the topic, you already know that there must be a problem. You have the issue of wasting the rice, and then you want to come up with a solution. Okay, so let's see what is the problem. You can tell from the topic, right? But still, remember, you have to back up your argument with the citation. That's why I mentioned introduction should be short and concise, but you have to have some citation. Okay, so I put here, despite the widespread belief among almost 1/3. So they have conducted a study, and then they found that 1/3 of the global food is wasted every year. 1/3. So if let's say you have produced what we call three what is it, amounts of food, but one of it has been wasted. Okay, but then this is what the world believe, 1/3 of our food will be wasted. But actually recent studies shows the opposite. We are not wasting 1/3 of our food that we produce. We are actually wasting, let me click here, more than double. It's 2/3, not 1/3. Can you imagine? You are producing 30 amounts of food, and then you are wasting 20 of it. It's such a waste, right? So whenever I mention it, I cite a paper. Okay, you cite a paper. Okay, and then you already mentioned that, okay, they are actually wasting more than that. And then what's the problem if let's say you waste the food? Who cares, right? Because you have the money. So you have to tell what is the problems of doing that. So you can see that the severity of the issue beyond just about the waste. Of course, when the food is rotten, what happened? You will contribute billions of waste every day, every year. And this waste will actually release greenhouse gases. Okay, and then you will actually waste water and land resources. You know, when you waste the food, when you waste whatever, they will send the waste into the landfill. So landfill need land resources, so you are wasting it, right? So you are showing how severe the problem is. It's not just about when you talk about greenhouse gases, right? Greenhouse emission, this is the environmental impact. You also want to mention that it also have economic impacts. Okay, what is the cost of economics? So you cite the exact cost to tell that this is the real issues, and then you cite a paper. And then not just the economics, you want to mention the social impact. What happen if let's say you don't waste it, you reverse the trend of wasting it, you can actually feed 2 billions of people, okay, to meet their nutritional need. So you are saying that, okay, if you are having this food waste, it's not just about you are having environmental issues, you have economic issues, you also have social issues. So just give in one paragraph, you are listing everything in that. So to show how significant your study is by highlighting the problem from your topic. Okay, so normally when you want to try to write down your introduction, you can of course, like the previous example, you can define, if let's say this is a new term, you can give the backgrounds of the study, or you can just simply jump into the problem statement by listing out all the problem and make it concise. Just one paragraph, you have 3 problem, right? Okay, so normally in one paragraph, you're gonna start with the whole picture. So you can see that I'm looking at the world issues, the world costs of having food waste. And then, because this is a case study, so I'm looking at Malaysia. So in Malaysia, of course, you also have to come up with the problems. Okay, this is the previous paragraph is about the world problem, but will it be the same in Malaysia? So if let's say you want to conduct in Pakistan or in whatever country, in Nigeria, so you have to also highlight the problem in that particular country. Okay, so in Malaysia, what happened? So daily waste generated up to this one. And then what does it mean? Approximately 44% of our waste is coming from food waste. You have so many types of waste. You have construction waste, you have factory waste, you have different types of waste. But out of all the total waste, 45%, almost 50, almost half are coming from food waste. Don't you think that is um, something serious, right? You have different type of waste, but half of it are coming from food waste. What does it tell you? Oh, Malaysia are very rich. So Malaysia are very rich. They simply waste their food. Okay. So you can see here that okay. I also give some information, some data. So remember, when you come up with a statement, cite it with different statistic, different data. Okay. So and then just one paragraph to tell the severity of food waste in Malaysia, and then the next paragraph I tell, okay, what is the objective of the paper? Okay, can you see the meanings of problem statement? Because many students, when I said, okay, you have to have problem statement, they don't know what is problem statement. Problem statement is just writing a statement about the problems of your study. Okay, so this is the second example. So let's see, what do I have here? Okay. Some of you, who is it? To recall your name, Najat. Najat is doing bibliometric. Okay. Still, even though it is a different types of research paper, still you have to show the way, the problem. What is the topic? So my topic is evolutions of waste and circular economy. I want to see pre and post COVID. Still, you have to mention about what is it? The problem. Okay, you can, so different way on how to come up with a general statement, general problem. So you can see here waste generation, serious problem. I touch on the developed and developing countries because of and is the problem becomes serious because of COVID-19. Okay, so this is the abstract. Okay, my bad. I should scroll down to the introduction. Okay. Okay. Okay, here, I just tell, this is just general statement. Waste production is a byproduct of economics and population growth. When economics is improved and your population is increasing, you are expecting to produce more waste, right? So there is a positive correlation. Normally for economics student, economic area, we always want to look at the relationship, correlation, whether positive or negative, right? So there is a positive correlation between income and waste generation. With the high income country, definitely will produce more waste compared to low income country. So you have to cite, okay? So this is citation, number one, number two, this is citation. Okay, so you cannot just stop here, even though you have cited, people said that high income country is producing more waste, but you have to tell how much waste are they producing, because many students, when they cite, okay, they said high income country is producing more waste, so according to blah blah blah, and full stop, you are happy with that. But people will be asking, if you are blaming high income country, how much waste are they producing actually, right? So the next sentence, high income country produce a third of the world waste. Can you imagine? Okay, despite accounting for only 16% of the world population. So this high income country, they are very small in number, but they are actually producing more waste compared to the other country because they are rich. They have purchasing power, so they simply waste their food. Okay, so now you can see the number, or now you can say, oh, that's why they are actually producing more waste. You have the data. Okay, so some of you just stop at point number one, okay, because you have cited it, that's good enough. But as a reader, as the editorial team, when they read it, how much, when you blame them, they are producing more waste, how much is it? So you have to be concise and specific. Okay, and then now you want to mention, so you are giving the whole picture, you are talking about the high income country, but in this paper I want to look at the low income country. So how do you want to relate it? So you have to make sure, this is very important, because the problem with student is that you have so many ideas, you just simply throw it away, throw them into your paragraph, And when I read it, I don't understand. They are not connected to each other. Okay. Now you already mentioned the general statement about the high income country and how much waste are they producing. And then you want to relate with the low income country. You are saying that the problem is even greater in low income country because they become a dumping ground for high income country. So what happened? More than, okay, so you have to be specific lah. Okay, more than 90% of their waste is openly dumped, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so can you see that in all paper, you have to have problem statement. Without a problem, there is no valid justification for you to conduct a study. Okay, so I do have many papers, but I just want to stop here. I think these 3 examples should be sufficient to tell you what do I mean by problem statement. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Okay, or else I will continue another example because after this I will ask you to answer the question. Remember, this is like a workshop. Once you have gone through all the example, okay, I will ask you question based on the papers based on your papers, okay, and then we will start checking what is the problems with the paper, okay. So that is the problem statement. Okay, maybe I will stop there first. Let's look at the what we call question. Okay, okay. I'm using your papers. Okay, so let's see the first one. Okay, so look at this paper. So now it's about two-way interaction. I don't want to keep talking and then you just listening. You may get somehow lost somewhere else. Okay. So remember, we are talking about the problem statement, right? You know how to come up with the problem. Okay, given this example, the use of e-government reporting system among Malaysian students. So e-government reporting system is just like a proper online system. If let's say you have a problem, you have any issues, you have a flood, you have accident, so you have a proper website to report what happened to you so that there is some help coming from the authority to assist you. Okay, this is reporting system from the government. E means online lah. Okay, so is it e online? Something online, something to do with online. I forgot already. Okay, so let me make it bigger so that you can all see the paper. Okay, remember you want to see the usage of the government reporting system among Malaysian students. Okay, now, so what do you expect in the introduction? Remember our structure? You may have backgrounds or definition if let's say they want to define it. And then the important part is the problem. Okay. So based on the example just now, at most you can have 2 paragraphs. You can also have 1 paragraph to tell about the problem. So can you see the introduction? 1 paragraph, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5. Okay, 5. Okay, see. What's the issue here? What is the issue? Can you see the problem? You have so many paragraphs just to explain your problem. Okay, so the first paragraph, you are telling widespread integrations of technology, of course, around the world. But is it a problem? Positive impacts of technology. So as the editorial team, okay, I'm looking for the problem. Okay, what is this? Government around the world use this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, where is the problem? So you keep reading and reading and reading. Can you find the problem? The use of e-government become increasingly widespread. You already mentioned that the widespread use of technology. Can you see? This is very common among students. You keep repeating the same point. And they are not even significant. They are not even important. Okay, so where is the to support digital? Okay, where is the problem? So here the 5th paragraph is actually the problem. In Malaysia, many young generation are more driven to social media and networking platform, which affect blah blah blah. So somehow here this paper is telling about the problem because the young generations are using social media so much, so they tend to actually raise whatever based on their idea, which sometimes create many issues. Okay, so basically in the fifth paragraph, she is explaining the problem. Can you see how much paragraph you have wasted? So sometimes some impatient editorial member, they just simply, this is not a good paper. They just simply reject your paper because of this. So introduction is very important to attract their interest to read your paper. Okay, that is the first example. Let me show the second example. Okay, so you have to tell me what's the problem here. So the topic is, okay, I will just give my comments to the paper, to all your paper, not really all, some of your paper. So basically, when you are here, all of you already have your paper, almost ready. Okay, even Balkis, she is about to do her master. She also has a paper, which is still under revision for her. Okay, I'm not sure about Ali. Have you produced a paper, Ali? Have you started producing a paper? In the process, is it? Okay. Yes, because Ali is actually has completed writing his master thesis, but maybe after that, after getting some revision, some comment from us, then he can start writing a paper. But the rest of you, you already have your paper with you, so you can actually simply correct your paper straight away after this class. Okay, so the topic is relationship between political stability and food security in the case of ASEAN. So you have a specific target group, specific country, which is ASEAN, and then you want to see relationship. See, when you talk about economics, you always want to see the correlation, relationship, positive, negative, right? And the variable is political stability and food security. Okay. So remember the introduction. You are searching for a problem statement. Okay. As the world strives towards sustainable development goal of zero hunger, particularly in developing nations, the problems of food security has become more pressing. Okay, what's the problem with this sentence? Anyone? What's the problem? Anyone want to try to spot the problem? Of course, we know that we have a problems of food security, but how severe the problem is. Okay, you are talking about especially developing nation. So you have to give a statistic. You have to give a data. You cannot stop here. So remember, just now I give you the examples of not this one. Where is it? Mm, is it this one? Okay. Remember I mentioned just now, you are saying that, okay, there is a positive correlation between income and waste generation, with higher income countries producing more waste. You have to cite, right? But citation is not good enough. You have to give us the data. How you cannot simply blame them without any proof. Okay, so I have given my citation, but still not sufficient. But here, there is no
Sustainable
citation.
development goal itself, it's a kind of source where we can, portray that there is an issue and people are working for it.
Yes, but again, remember when you give a statement, okay, this is this is an academic paper. There is a proper standard. You can give a statement. Of course, we know that you have a problem of food security, especially in developing countries. Of course, we know this. Remember, I mentioned in the zakat case, you know that after the COVID, people are suffering, right? But you have to cite to show that this is not your mere statement. To show that this is actually based on someone else study. Okay, so you have to cite, and then after citing, this is not sufficient enough. You have to tell how severe the problem of food security. Then you have to give what? You have to give a statistical data to support your statement, which is missing here. See, so that's why when I read, basically, this is not just this paper's issue, but all the papers. Okay, that's why the reason for us to have the class, to learn, to know what's the problem and improve it. Okay, that's it. So don't worry, everyone is doing the same mistake. Don't worry. Okay, so the problem is you have to cite and then you have to come out with a statistical or with a fact, with the data. Okay, so next, so you are saying that, okay, we have a problems of food security, especially in developing nation, right? But then in the next paragraph, remember, we are assuming that you will give a data. But in the next paragraph, you are talking about, okay, Quran warns against excess consumption and wastage. So it doesn't have a link to the problems of food security. You are talking about food security and then suddenly you are talking about wastage. So here, there is a missing link. You are assuming that people are having the issue of food security because people simply waste their food, right? Or they consume excessively. But it doesn't link with the previous statement. So that's the what we call a very common issue among students, which is if you see the structure, main issue is that there is no coherence among the sentence, among the paragraph. So one sentence is talking about something else, another sentence is talking about something else. Okay, so so um so so sometimes because of 2-3 sentence, people get annoyed and then they simply reject your paper. So don't do that. Okay, so you have to make sure when you write a statement, make sure that they are connected to each other. People, when they read it, they can see the flow of your story. At the moment, I cannot see the coherence, the flow of your argument. So when people are lost with your argument, so people cannot see your point, even though your point is there, but because the point are unorganized, so people cannot see it. That's the problem. Okay, so that is one example. So suddenly you define food security is rich when, so you can okay, so normally if you want to define, you can put it early, and then after the remember I put here, you can start with the definitions or background, but then come up with the problem statement. So you have to have a nice flow so that people can follow your argument. At the moment, everything is here and there. Okay, so it's actually hard for me to understand. Okay, let me show another paper. Okay, so what is it about? Okay, the topic is about exchange rate pass through to inflation in Tanzania. Okay, so because maybe many people don't know what is exchange rate pass through, right? So this is a concept in economics. Okay, so be careful of using significant word, because if you put significant, you have to justify what do you mean by significant. Is it 50%, 90%, 20%? So try to drop the word significant, essential. This is a very strong word. In academic, if you want to use it, fine, but you have to support with the statistical data. So exchange rate pass-through is an economic concept that refers to or can be defined as the extent of blah blah blah. So because this is a concept, right, many people may not know it, so you can just define it. So what's the problem? Remember, in the introductions, you can define, you can give the what we call the background, and then people are looking at the problem statement. Okay, so in an open economy, blah 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 is direct okay. What is it about in Tanzania, right? So when you talk about exchange rate pass through, you can start with define it, and then you can actually inflation. You can actually tell the common problems or the world problem with regards to exchange rate pass through. Okay, which very significantly, okay, this is fine, between countries and depends on, okay, this is fine. Okay, so this is general. Okay, then you have to but then where is it? um 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 exchange rate movement can influence inflation rate, blah blah. Okay, so basically if let's say you think that this has a negative or some impact, you have to mention everything in one paragraph, because remember the first paragraph is about the definition or background, and then the impact. If you are expecting negative impact, inflation, right? If you are expecting whatever impact, put it in one paragraph. Try to make it concise. If let's say the impacts are so many, you can concise it in 2 paragraphs. Okay, you can do that. And later on, because you want to focus on in Tanzania, so my advice is in one paragraph, just the whole general idea around the world. The second paragraph, focus on Tanzania. Okay, so make it concise. Okay. I will comment on this later. Okay. So you can see, sometimes the problem with the student is that the idea is there. It's just that you don't know how to concise them, how to arrange them in a organized way. That's the problem. Okay. So now everyone knows what do I mean by problem statement, right? So remember in introduction, people, the first thing that they will do is looking at the problem statement. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? Without the problem, they will just simply reject your paper. Okay, they will simply do that. Okay, after the problem, what's next? After mentioning the issues, and then you come up with the objective. So your objective should be meant to tackle the problem. Okay, for example, your problem is about food waste, but your objective is to study general waste, or your objective is to looking at something else. So no, so your problem should be tally with the objective, because you have the problem, your objective, if your objective are to address the problem. Okay, so in this case, remember, let me go back to the issues of trust. You are having problem with the trust despite many people are suffering from the COVID. So what is your problem? You want to know what influence people trust, right? Because people are having trust issue now. So let me go to the objective. Where is the objective? Okay. So here, the objective, this is somewhere here. Okay, the objectives of this study, okay, given here. To investigate the determinants or the factors that influence people to pay through the zakat institution. Okay, so your objective should be tally with your problem. And then of course later on, you want to propose a solution. Okay, that is about the zakat. If let's say you are looking at this, what we call food waste, right? Rice waste. Okay, you are having, remember, because of the rice waste, you have environmental, you have economics and social problem. So what is your objective? So here, in general, this study want to explore, this is the objective, sustainable alternative to reduce the food waste. Okay, you can have a general objective if you want to. You can just straightforward listing down like the zakat one. This is the objective. I want to find the factors, blah, blah, blah. So in particular, okay, depends. You can have straight away objective, or you can also general and specific objective. Okay, and then this is just the biblio. Biblio have a specific concept. Okay, what is it about? Let me see. I haven't seen this paper yet. Okay. Okay. No need for this. This is just a different topic about a particular company. Which is, remember the I showed to you about rare earth elements. So they also have a company to produce the rare earth element, and the company is subjected to many protests from the society. Okay, so when I want to study this company, of course I have to list down all the problems that are coming from this company. Okay, so that is the objective. I think objective should be clear. It should be tally with the problem statement. Okay, let me see that. So is it clear? Do you want to see the examples of objective from other paper? Should be clear, right? Anyone?
Kindly, can you explain our objectives? I mean, if you can have a time, you can, like previously we were discussing our introduction, and you pointed out the mistakes, which is very
Okay,
correct. So I just want you to just highlight our mistakes again, once again, so we can improve that.
in the objective, for the objective. Okay,
Yes,
okay,
please.
okay. So I'm about to show the paper. Okay, this is about the use of e-government reporting system. Remember, this is just how to use government reporting system when you have a problem, when you are suffering with calamities, with flood, with accidents, anything. Okay, among Malaysians. So, objective. Your topic is you want to know the use of government reporting system among students. So let's see what is the objective here. Okay. So somehow she mentioned the issues which is in the last paragraph. She has written 5 paragraph. In the last paragraph is the issue. So don't waste that. Okay, so okay, given the aforementioned issue, so if you look at this word, this is actually try to link with your issues, and then you want to show that okay, given this issue, these are the objectives that we want to address. Sometimes people are talking about issue and then they suddenly mention this study has the following objective, so there is no connection. That's why I put given the aforementioned issues, so here are our objectives. So sometimes from one paragraph to another paragraph you need some sentence to join them, to link them. So what is the objective? To explore students' awareness on the existence of this system. Okay, this is fine. To analyze effectiveness of the current system. Sometimes the current system is there, but then it is not effective, right? Factors affecting effectiveness. Okay, so she stopped here. Remember the function, the reasons of you to come out with a paper to investigate a study because you have a problem. Then when you have identified the problem, you want to suggest some solution to address the problem. Okay, so she has come out basically because she has discussed with her lecturer a good what we call objective, but then one part here that she is lacking. Of course, you want to suggest a practical solution. Okay, that's why I write it in red. Okay, without solution means that there is no problem in the first place. Okay, this is the first example. Let's look at the second example. Okay, second example is about, let me see, the topic is relationship between political stability and food security. Okay, in the case of ASEAN. Okay, so what is the objective? Okay, because the topic is already specific enough, you want to see the relationship. So I will suggest to my students, instead of making it very specific, you can make your topic as general, and later on in the objective you can come up with so many objective. But if let's say your objective is already you want to see relationship, positive or negative, so not so much that you can do in your objective. So this is very common for economic students. Your topic is already specific. I want to see relationship between this variable and that variable. And so what? If let's say later on you find negative, positive, your contribution is just to explain why. So your objective become very limited. You will be having like 2 objectives. First, you want to see relationship. Second, you want to come up with a solution. If let's say this is negative, this is not something that you expect, so you want to propose with a solution. That's it. But if let's say you come up with a general topic, right? So in the objective later on, you can actually list down a few objectives. So how do you get that? That's why that is the role of literature review. So if let's say you are talking about political stability and food security, what you can do is that go to all papers on political stability and food security and check their objective. Okay, because different paper will gonna have different objective. Sometimes you can just simply take their objective because they may be looking at different country. You are looking at ASEAN. They may look at European. They may look at Japan. They may look at different. So how do you want to come up with objective? You have to look at the paper, the previous paper. the previous paper literature will guide you in coming out with your objective. But now your topic already relationship, and between these two variable, so it's too specific that you cannot diversify, you cannot come up with many objectives later on. So that's the thing, okay? Because if people can see very little information from your paper, people will say that nothing so special about this paper. But if let's say your paper has a few objectives, for example, my paper, you will see that in the case of zakat, I have three. So three is very minimum. If you look at the what we call here, the rice waste, I have actually 4 objectives. So the more objective you have to show that there are many things you wanna discuss. Yeah, so when you have many things you wanna discuss, you wanna investigate, so it shows that well, this topic is actually significant, is important. But if let's say you only have 2, your main topic is relationship, positive, negative, and then you want to suggest a solution. So it's a very limited there. Okay, it can say basically, um, it's a traditional economic paper, but it will give you limited information unless you want to add on with the bibliometric analysis. Okay, but then my suggestion is that because bibliometric, you're going to have a different way of doing it. Okay, so my suggestion is that you have to check the literature, and then from that you have to see what kind of objective are they using, and then you can simply
What?
try to use that.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I have already discussed some of the objectives apart from the topic. Can you just
Mm-hmm.
go through the objectives and see whether they are fine or not?
Okay, so basically you have to remember you want to see relationship.
Yes,
So
yes, 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 yes.
yes, so your topic is very limited. Is okay, fine. So
It
you
means you have
okay.
to change the topic top title, right?
Yeah, your topic should be broad enough so that later on you can have many objectives. Okay, I'm trying to give you a suggestion so that you can improve the paper. If let's say your objective is very limited, then people may not see that your paper is significant. That's the issue. Okay, now talking about this paper, you okay in your thesis maybe you want to talk about research question, but in academic paper this is not what they are looking for. Remember what is the structure? You are not looking at research question, you are looking at the objective of the paper. So you have to change this. Okay, you have to change the objective of the study. So as I mentioned to you, from your introduction you simply jump into research question, there is no connection. Okay, so you have to do something, you have to use some connecting words so that people can see that oh, there is a flow of your study. Okay, so instead of using research question, which is commonly used in thesis, this is not thesis, this is a article paper. Put an objective. So objective, so the objective is
So
to
many
start.
papers would included research questions in there. So I just write that question instead of writing objective here.
You have to change research question into objective. Objective is to uh, to analyze, to examine the relationship between political stability and food security in ASEAN country. Second, to whatever, to investigate the impacts of political stability on food availability, accessibility, and blah blah blah. Okay, so you have to just change the question form into the statement form.
One more thing, right now I have the base paper for this. It was my own idea, and I was looking to different literature. From that, I just started to write a paper on this issue. So I don't have a base paper for this right now.
If you don't have a base paper, that will be your research gap. Okay, so if let's say let me see, political stability and food security, I think they might be a lot, right? Okay, so this is about your literature. Okay, because we haven't, this is at the moment we are just in the interaction part. Okay, so when you do
Can
your
we
literature,
pipeline a few more meetings rather to have all at once?
okay, because we are here, so I will touch on the literature review in a brief. Okay, so when you talk about political stability and food security, you basically, there are many factors actually can affect food security. It's not just political stability, right? That's why when you have a very specific factor that affect food security, you are limited your discussion there. But if you want to see, if you make it broad, uh, factors, determinants of food security. Okay, so this is where it is important to make your topic as broad as possible so that later on you may have a many area that you can look into. Okay, when you see, okay, for example, you change instead of relationship, you want to see relationship between political stability and food security, you change it into determinants or factors affecting food security. Then you will see many, many variables that can affect food security. And from that, you can see which variable are more significant in affecting food security. So you will have many, many variable that you can investigate, right? So don't just simply focus on a particular, this is one determinant that can affect food security. If you just limit there, so basically your discussion will be very narrow. When you are too narrow, not so much that you can see. Okay, can you see the point? So that is the functions of literature. Literature review will tell you when you touch on food security, there will be a lots of factors that affect food security in ASEAN. In ASEAN, there are a lot. Okay, so that is my comment on the objective. Your topic shouldn't be too narrow, or else your objective will be uh, very limited. Huh. Okay, so can I move to the next paper? Okay, I was wishing this workshop will finish in 1 hour, but we are in the introduction. Okay, so it shows that you guys are interested in this. Ali, if you have anything, just let me know. Okay, just ask. Don't feel shy. We are here to learn. Okay, I'm also learning from you. And who else? I forgot. Who else here? Balkis, if you wanna ask question also, feel free. We have Najat. Najat is very silent. Okay, make sure that you if let's okay. Okay. So what is it? Okay, one person is not here yet. Okay. So I'll continue with the second paper. This is exchange rate pass through to inflation. Okay. What is it? Objective, right? Okay. Let me go through the objective. Objective. So sometimes in your introduction, you are writing too much. Even though there are some point there, it's just that when you didn't put them concise, so people may get lost somewhere in your explanation. Okay, that's it's very important. You don't really need 2 pages of introduction. You just need one paragraph. If let's say you are talking about Tanzania, of course you want to start with the general issue and then go to the Tanzania second paragraph, and the third one just expand the objective. You don't really have to go through many. Okay, when you are talking about Tanzania or whatever specific country, ASEAN or whatever specific, normally we want to focus on certain country, right? Certain region. So you may want to have you can also have a background of it. Background of the country. The country is rich of resources, but then they didn't use it properly. That's why they are becoming poor country. So you can also have a background of the country if you want to, especially when you are talking about specific region or country. Okay, but none of you are doing the background. But at least, as I mentioned to you, background is optional. Okay, let me see the objective. So many thing here. Let me see where is the objective. Objective. Going down. Where is the objective? Najat, I cannot find your objective. Where is your objective? See. Um. Okay. Well. Mm, So
She
if
put them
you
in the
think that
number.
you're gonna have okay down here, should I scroll down or is it somewhere on top?
At the
Because
top of
after
the introduction, but I didn't
the
put it
top
on
of
the
it,
exam.
the top of it that will be dangerous. A top. However, where is the
No,
objective?
no, no, not
Um,
the
after gaining, this is after gaining. This is like the background of it, the introduction, blah blah blah. Where is objective? Volatility has a blah 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 blah. The trend, inflation, fine, blah 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 blah. Exchange rate. Oh, this statistic. See, this is the objective somewhere. Can you imagine how many intro do you have? And then among all those things, wait. No. This is the gap in existing. Okay, where is the exact? Uh, by so well, this study seek to address a gap in the existing research on exchange rate. Okay, you have to specify the objective of this study is to at the moment by examining how you don't really specify your objective clearly. So you are expecting people to guess the objective of your paper is this. So this. Oh my god. Najat, you cannot write your objective somewhere here. Oh my God. Thus, the objective of this study is to examine the impacts of exchange rate pass-through in... Okay, okay. And okay, and your objective is just one. Remember, if okay, okay, Najat, somehow your internet is very poor. I cannot hear what you are talking.
Excuse me, is that all right if I can leave? I can see you recording later on because I have to go for the namaz right now,
Oh,
prayers.
okay,
Is that
okay.
all right?
That it's alright. It's alright. I will be discussing, and then I will share the what we call the recording soon. Okay,
Thank you. Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, so Najat, okay, you cannot put your objective somewhere there. It shows that your objective is not significant. Is and people are having trouble to find out your objective. Okay, so you see here in the example. So okay, the objective of this study are in detail. You list down, pam 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 pam. You can see the objective, right? Okay, and then here um, because in my introduction, I have two paragraphs. The first one is general issue. The second one is a Malaysian issue. And then in general, this paper explore. So after reading the problem, people are expecting to see your objective. So in the third paragraph, I give the objective. I list down all the objective. In particular, it investigate, blah, blah, blah. It will further examine, blah, blah, blah. But you are explaining so many and the objective is somewhere there. Okay, so the problem is people will overlook at your objective. People will be, where is the objective? Okay, so you have to actually make sure that it is visible, clearly visible, so that people don't really have to, if let's say they have read somewhere down there and then they want to see, what is the objective of this paper, they couldn't find it. Okay, so you have to have one paragraph to emphasize your objective. And of course, here your objective is just one, to examine the impacts of exchange rate pass-through on inflation in Tanzania. And after knowing this, what's next? Don't you want to know? Don't you want to suggest a policy implication? So you have to have another objective. Just to have one objective, it shows to me that your paper is not significant. Okay? So you have to create another objective as a policy implication suggestion. Okay, and maybe you wanna have another objective to explore before examine, to explore the current condition, current background of economics in of economic condition in Tanzania, right? Or the current, whatever, what happened in Tanzania. So people doesn't know, right? So maybe you wanna make it as your objective. You wanna see what happened in Tanzania recently. So that you will see that they are a poor country and they have the blah blah blah. And then second objective, you want to see the impact. Okay, can you see that, Najat? So having one objective is very um It's not sufficient. So you have to create more objective. 2 is very minimum. If you have more, that will be better. Okay, Najat? Okay. Don't worry. We are here to improve, right? So next. Okay. Wow. Next is, this is something compulsory to show the contribution of your study to the existing literature. If let's say your study doesn't contribute anything to the world, so what is the purpose of you having your study, right? So this is also, to tell that there is a reason for you to conduct a study, significance of your study. Okay, so because when I give the comment, tell me your significance of your study, many people will come out like different thing, but you don't understand the meanings of significance of your study. Okay, to show the contributions of your study to the existing literature. Let me give you the example. Okay, let me see. This is method. Okay, let me see. What do we have here? This is not so clear. Okay. Significance of your study. What is this? This topic is about impacts of objective. Objective mean actual data, actual scientific data, and subjective valuation. Subjective mean perception data on behavior. You want to see whether people behavior change because of the actual data, scientific data, or because of their perception. Okay, so this is the topic. So the significance, why do you want to know whether people people change their behavior because of actual data or their perception? So let's see, what is the significance of this study? So you can see here clearly I mentioned, okay, the contributions of the present, I'm not sure whether you can see. The contributions of the present study is threefold. There are three reasons, three significance of this study. First, it fills the gap in the literature about blah blah. Second, third, so you list down so that people can see clearly. Don't just simply explain them without highlighting. This is your contribution of your study. So you have to highlight because they may get lost somewhere while reading your paper. Okay, so this is one example. What is it about? Okay, let me show another example. Okay. This is the bibliometric paper. Okay, let me see. What is the significance of this paper? Literature review. There are two things here that I forgot. Okay, so some of you who have learned bibliometric, okay, even though it's a different way of looking at it, but it also has to highlight the significance of it. What is it? Okay, research on circular economy, its concept and application has increased enormously. In recent years, many studies have done on bibliometric. However, you want to highlight that. What is your contribution? What is the problem here? However, many studies use small number of article, which is less than 500, but you are using more. Okay, so you are telling that, okay, whatever they are doing before was not correct. Okay, and then they overlook at the data cleaning, which is a critical step in bibliometric, but you are providing that, a proper data cleaning. Okay, so these are normally these are the reason why you have to tell. I mean, different study gonna have different way of telling the significance of their study. Means that significant can highlight what the previous study didn't do, what mistake that the previous study did that you want to correct. Okay, what value added that you want to give. Okay, let me show another example. Okay, this is about the what we call rice waste just now. So let's see what is, make it bigger. What is the significance of this paper, right? Apart from the problem, you have the problem. So why do you think it is significant? Let me see. Scroll down. So you will see here, you are telling. Remember in this paper, we want to suggest a sustainable alternative for reducing the rice waste. So we are saying that we will offer some advantages over the traditional method. So basically, when you are dealing with food waste, the US, United States, they are giving you a few steps, a few method, traditional method to handle with it. But we are saying that the traditional method is not working. So we are having our proposed solution have many advantages. So we list down all the advantages to show that your paper is giving some contribution. Okay, and if you want to look at a simple example for the zakat, you love zakat, right? It's easy to understand. So you can see here, after telling the objective, the present study contribute why the present study contribute in 5 distinct ways. First, it blah blah blah. Second, so you are highlighting clearly to tell them that even though we are talking about zakat, zakat is something common. There are so many studies on zakat, but my study is different. These are the 5 differences that I want to highlight. That if I do this topic, it can give 5 contribution to the study, to the existing literature. So you have to mention what is the new features that you can offer to them. Okay, so different study going to have different new features, different value added. Okay, so you have to highlight this is something compulsory. Okay, so let's see the paper. This is about the use of e-government reporting system. Okay, after the objective, you simply go to the literature. So people will say, okay, even though you have many objectives, is good, but then why this topic is should be studied, right? You didn't tell why it is significant for you to conduct it. So this is missing. Okay, so people may simply reject your paper because they cannot find the significance of your paper. And let's move to the second one. After question, you give me whatever here, and then see after the table, you give literature review. So people will be asking, where is the contribution of the study? What does it give to us? No, none. And then next, okay, next. Okay, well, this study contribute to, okay, because I haven't read this yet, but I did give a comment to justify the contribution of the study. So it's good that if you highlight them so that people can see. But if let's say you want to, if you have many points, don't write in a very long paragraph. Make them small paragraph. Okay. Okay. So next, okay. After mentioning the significance of the study, then you can move to the literature review. Okay, wow, we are going too long on the introduction, isn't it? Okay, can we move to the literature review? Any question on the introduction? Ali, anything you want to ask before we move to the literature review?
It's good. No, I think I didn't
You got the
ask you
point.
anything. Yeah, I don't have a point.
Okay, Balkis, you wanna ask something?
No, Doctor.
Okay, let me continue. Okay, literature review. Basically, you are reviewing the previous study. Why did you do that? Okay, some students, because they know that they have to review previous study, they just review anything. But actually, you have to review something that is related to you. Why? Because the previous study will, okay, let me make it bigger, will inform about what you want to do. Basically, you want to study something, right? Okay, but then you review the previous study that related to your topic. So the previous study will tell you, okay, basically we have done this. So if you want to do this topic, you have to give something extra, right? So if let's say you just follow the previous study, this is very common among PhD students, they just follow the previous study and then they take the same country, the same period of duration, they just take the same data, and then do the same. So what's the difference? They are using the same method as well. So you have to make sure that you read the previous study, because previous study will tell you, okay, we have done this. This is how we do it. So you want to learn from them. Okay, let's do like what they did. But then After learning that, okay, what extra can you give to the existing literature review? Okay, that's why you have to have updated LR, literature review. Some of you giving a very, what we call, outdated one. So don't do that. Make sure that you can have outdated, because sometimes you want to review the theory, right? The theory, the concept was introduced in 1920s, 1950s. You can have that because that is your theory, but later on you have to update. Okay, after 1920s, the theory has been updated. They are using different advanced technique, advanced method. So you can have like evolutions of the study. Okay, but some of you just use the old studies. Don't. You have to have the updated one to show that recently some studies have done this, but I want to show there is something missing that you can contribute. Okay, so under literature review, okay, you can review the theory or concept. You can review the variable that you want to use in your equation. You can review the method that you want to use, because sometimes when you want to study a particular topic, some study use OLS, ordinary least square. Some use a different method. So you may want to review what types of methods that are actually relevant to your data. And some will review the context or issue. Okay, and all the review with the objective to find the research gap, to find what can you contribute, what is missing, what is the hole in the current study. Okay, let me show you the examples of reviewing the theories or concept. Okay, where is it? Theory or concept. In the case of zakat, in the case of zakat, basically you can see here, I don't think I review the concept because people knows what zakat is all about, right? Okay, so just to let you know, not necessarily that if you have reviewed the theory, you don't want to use to review the variable. You can review all of this if you want to, or you can combine theory as well as the variable. You can combine theory or maybe the method. So it's up to you, because this is your paper. It is on your creativity. Okay, so in this case, this is zakat, right? Okay, you can see that I'm using the cognitive theory, using theory of planned behavior. So I'm actually reviewing the theory. The theory was introduced in 1969, and then they improved it in 1985. But somehow, after some times, the theory has evolved. Okay, because this is all theory, but it has evolved. Okay, until recently. Okay, until last by 2019. Okay, so I reviewed the theory, the evolutions of the theory, and then 2022 as well. Okay, and then from that theory, I have reviewed the theory. I also reviewed the variables because I want to come up with my equation, right? In economics, you always deal with equation. Okay, so the zakat paper is about trust. So what are the factors affecting the trust? You have 3 factors, and then trust will also affect people intention whether to pay zakat or not. From their good intention, maybe they will pay zakat. So all this, to come out with this, not just reviewing the theory of planned behavior, but also have to review the variables that affecting my trust variable. Okay, so here I'm combining the theory as well as the variable. Okay, that is the zakat case. Here, let me see. What do I have here? Oh, this is experiment. But let's see the literature. What do I put in the literature? Literature. Okay, so this topic is about rice waste just now, right? And then you are using circular economy concept. This is a concept. So of course you have to review what is this circular economy concept. People doesn't know about it, right? Okay, so what I did in my literature, okay, somehow, okay, this is what you call in your in my introduction. I combine it with the literature. So I have 1 paragraph of intro, and then I have 2 paragraph of intro, and then I mention my objective, 3 paragraph, and then because my introduction is very short, so I just extend into I plus with the literature. So you can see that 1.1, this is actually my literature. What kind of literature that I review? I review hierarchy of food waste recovery. So what is it? So when according to United States of Environmental Protection Agency, this is their departments of environment in US. So according to them, normally they are our benchmark. We always refer to them, right? According to the departments of environment in US, if you have food waste, you have a proper way on how to handle it. So how to handle it? According to them, if you have food waste, you have to reduce at source, means that don't try to not wasting the food. If let's say you have surplus, you can feed the hungry people, you can feed animal. Lastly, you can, if you cannot do anything about it, you can send to the landfill. This is what they said. So what I did is that, because I'm dealing with rice waste, right? So I have to review all the studies that are using this kind of method. Okay, so I'm reviewing the method of dealing with food waste. Okay, that is the method. And then I also, because remember I'm talking about new concept, circular economy, I also review the concept. So I combine. So not necessarily that you have to have one sections of literature review. You can also combine them. Okay, this I'm reviewing the circular economy concept. What else? Yeah, I think that is my literature review for this. Okay, what else do we have? So another example, this is the last example for literature review, because sometimes students will ask, oh, what kind of literature review should I do? Should I look at the method? Should I look at this? You can do all. It's up to you. Remember the functions of literature review to help you, to guide you to start your study. If let's say you think that you don't know the concept very well, review the concept. If you think that you don't know what kind of variable you have to find, review the variable. So literature review is meant to guide you. If you think that you are lacking on that, do it. Search for it. Okay, so this topic is about, you want to see the impacts of actual data and perception on people behavior, whether they can affect your behavior. It's basically, actual data is on pollution data and pollution people perceptions on pollution. Okay, so what kind of literature review am I looking at, right? So where is it? Where is the literature review? Okay, so in this case, I'm looking at the evolutions of the study. Oh, okay. Here you can see that I'm looking at this is what you call, even though the name is everything behavior method, but this is a theory in environment. Okay, so I review the theory, okay, the concept, and after review the concept, I also review any studies that use everything behavior. Okay, so I review all the study, but then you can see that I started with evolution. In the early studies of everything behavior, it says that objective and subjective evaluation are actually in early studies, they think that when they want to conduct a study, some studies said that, okay, only actual scientific data will affect people behavior, whether if let's say they are exposed to air pollution, whether they will stay at home or they will use what we call air condition. So in their study, they only look at whether actual data or perception. Okay, they will study separately. Okay, no study has combined the impacts of actual and subjective on people behavior. So I start with early studies. They're looking at different types of pollution. If let's say air pollution, this is air pollution, they are looking at different way. What else? If they are talking about groundwater issues, they're looking at different way. So I start with evolution so that people can follow the argument. They can say that, okay, when you talk about everything behavior concept, so these are all the studies that have been done until now. Okay, but then later on I show that what is later on I show that later on they have combined objective and subjective valuation together, but then what they found is that they are in conflict. Means that some says that people will act after exposing to the actual data, actual pollution. Some says that people will act because of their perceptions of pollution. So because of many conflict from the result, then I want to conduct the study. Okay, so this is the examples of how you want to do the literature review using the evolutions of the theory. Okay, so that is the second, that is one of the example for the literature. Okay, so we are talking about the theory and concept and variable for the zakat. Method, method, I haven't conducted a literature review on method because basically I'm not sure if let's say you are doing what we call time series, or if you are looking at secondary data, means that the data are getting from the website. So sometimes you may want to use OLS, sometimes you want to use different method. So if you are not sure about it, then you have to review what kind of method that are suitable for you. Okay, in my case, many of my studies are actually cross section. I'm using primary data, so I know what kind of method that I have to use. That's why I didn't review the method, but you can review the method if you think that you are not sure about what method you want to use. Okay, context or issue. This is the examples of your zakat paper, my zakat paper. So if you look at here, okay, literature review. When you talk about zakat, how you want to divide the zakat? Because remember, sometimes you know that when we talk about zakat, it is a common topic, right? So you don't know what should I study about zakat, but you want to do a study on that, right? But you don't know what is missing in the literature review. So what you can do, you have to study the whole thing. How do you divide zakat? You can divide zakat in terms of zakat collection and zakat. Where is the zakat distribution? Zakat distribution. So basically in the zakat paper, I review all the study regarding collection and distribution. And from that, I try to find out what is the missing link, what is the missing info that I can add up. Okay, so you can also do that. Okay, so in this case, basically when I try to review the zakat, I'm looking at the context and issue. Remember, when you talk about zakat, people are dissatisfied about how they manage the zakat fund. They didn't use proper technology to share the information, blah blah blah. So I'm actually reviewing the problem, the issues that are facing by zakat, because I want to come up with a solution so that people will have trust on them. Okay, that's why I'm reviewing the context, the issues that are facing by zakat institution. So remember, different study gonna one may need to review different aspect. Not necessarily that I'm reviewing theory and then you are doing zakat, for example, you also reviewing zakat, but you know that people know what is zakat, right? So you have to see your objective. If let's say your objective is to find out the variable, you don't know the variable, review the variable. If your objective is to come up with the analysis and you don't know the method, then review the method. Okay, and you can also have a combinations of whatever in the literature. Okay, many students think that reviewing one thing is sufficient enough. No, you will review something to make sure that you know what you're gonna do, to make sure that you know what is the missing, what is the gap in the literature, in the current knowledge. Okay, after you do the review, remember you want to come up with the research gap. Okay, sometimes because research gap will tell you the contribution of your study, significance of your study will tell the contribution of the study. Some people they will just give the significance of their study, some will give the research gap. It is better if you can give both. Okay, so in the case of zakat, I already mentioned the significance of study, right? I list down, where is it? Okay, here. I mentioned that, okay, the present study contribute 5 distinct way. But then, this is the significance of the study. But you also want to show the gap in the literature. So after after reviewing all the issues faced by the zakat institution, what did I found? Okay, you have so many review here, right? So many studies. So I found that, in short, although zakat has a great potential to help the poor out of poverty, but the current system is far from desirable. So this is something missing in the system. Okay, so you are showing what are missing and what you want to do to improve the problem. This is about zakat. Okay, let me show about the rice waste just now. Okay, let's see the gap in the literature, right? Advantage of a traditional method. This is the significance of the study. Let's see the gap. Okay, somehow here I mentioned, I write down here, research gap within the rice supply chain. So there are many studies done on the rice supply change, but then there are many missing stuff here that I found out. Okay, so you have to highlight it so that people know, oh, she has the significance of study to show her contribution. At the same time, she can also highlight the research gap to show the significance of the study, different angle to show how much value added she can add into the existing literature. So it will somehow tell them, oh, this paper is very significant. Okay, then done with that. Okay, so basically, if I want to go back to my students' paper, of course, after giving the objective, literature review, right? You want to see the research gap? Okay, so these are the literature. So remember, if you want to write the literature, put a paragraph. One page shouldn't cover for the whole paragraph. Okay, put a paragraph. So she is explaining everything, and then no contribution, no research gap. This is the first paper. Second paper. Okay, literature review, scroll down, done. After mentioning the variable, that's it, method. So basically, if your study doesn't contribute, doesn't fill up the research gap, means that nothing you can contribute from the previous study, basically it doesn't tell anything. So you want to make sure that, okay, I have reviewed all the previous study and I found that this study is not correct. The method are not sufficient. The data are small in number. So when you can highlight the weakness of the previous studies, and then here is my contribution from this literature that I read. So these are the missing link. These are the missing part. So I want to add on this. So it shows that, wow, your study has added many valuable information. But at the moment, none of you give me the research gap. Okay, the last paper. Let me see here. After literature review, where is the research gap? Research gap. Nothing. Wait. This study aimed to fill the vacuum, but which vacuum? So if you want to say you fill the research gap, you have, I think she did mention somewhere, limited. Nonetheless, you better put a different paragraph. Limited study have examined the impacts of blah, blah, blah. If you said limited study means there is a study, but limited. So you have to cite the study. If you just mention, so the problem with the student is that you have your argument, you have your point, but you didn't back it up with the citation. So you're saying that limited study. Which study? So you have to put here, okay, to support your argument. If let's say you said limited study, but even though they have studied on Tanzania, but maybe their coverage are different, your coverage are different. So you also have to highlight that. So remember, you have to be specific, be concise. You just give a general statement. Remember, this is academic paper. Whatever you said, you have to cite it, you have to support it. You also have to be clear. But everything is not so clear. Okay? So that is the literature review. So far, so good? Everyone? Everyone, so far, so good?
Yes, madam, it's good. Yeah.
Okay. So now, data and method. Okay. So you have to make sure that your data are available, and then you are using the right method. In economics, it's all about data and it's all about method, right? This is our area of expertise. If let's say the topic is very interesting. You have the problem statement, you have the literature review, but the data is not available. How would you analyze it, right? If the data is available, but you don't know the right method, that will also be wrong, right? Okay, so when you talk about the data, okay, there are two types of data, primary and secondary. You can use combinations of both. It doesn't mean that when you use primary, you cannot use secondary. You can use both. In fact, it is even better to have a combinations of both. In my study, I always use combinations of both to strengthen my result. Okay, so if you are talking about primary data, you have a target group. For example, you are talking about Tanzania, right? But that is secondary. Okay. Okay. Let me just show you the examples of primary. You have to make sure that you have a correct target group. You have to justify why they are your target group, and then you have to use sampling method. Justify it. Whatever you are. So in this section, data and method, you always have to justify. Okay, let me show you here. Okay, for the zakat one, what is the method? Oh yeah, data and methods, right? So this is like a primary data. You are using questionnaire. Okay, so distribute to 740 respondent because they are the zakat payer. Okay, so why so big? Well, in primary data, if you're doing questionnaire, this is not so big. Okay, especially when you are using convenient sampling method because you are simply taking people anyway. So you have to use a larger sample size to justify why you use convenient. Okay, so you have to have a proper. You have to basically when you see here, you distribute to 740 respondent. Why 740? Why this respondent? Because they are the potential zakat payers. So you have to justify why them, because they are the zakat payer. Remember, you want to know their trust level. Okay, you want to know whether they will pay to zakat institution. Okay, and then of course you have a proper way of if you want to conduct a survey, there are many things that you have to do. Okay. Okay, and then let's look at this. Okay, this is what? This is primary data, but then we support with the SLR. Okay, and then for primary, not just doing the survey, we also have we interview some people, zakat institution officer, blah blah blah. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, so for this, let me see, what is the method? Okay, so this study use primary and secondary. And under primary, you also have two things. You do experiment and then you also use survey, questionnaire. Okay, so under primary, you also have two. And then you also have secondary data as well. So to support your study. And then let me see here, what do we have? Okay, sometimes it's good if let's say if you want to analyze, where is it okay, if you are having both data, right, and you want to make sure that everyone can understand the flow, you can come up with this chart. You have data, primary, secondary. How do you how do you collect your primary? Using questionnaire survey. For secondary, you are collecting environmental quality data. Okay, for questionnaire, what will you get from questionnaire? You will get the demographic, perception, blah blah. For environmental quality data, you will get air pollution data and then ground level concentration data. And how do you analyze them? Because different types of data will be analyzed using different method. So if you have many methods and then you don't want people get confused, you can actually list down like this. Okay, so this will make it clearer. Of course, you have to explain after that, right? By giving this doesn't tell anything, but at least you have to you can show the whole chart so that people can see the flow. Okay, so most of my studies the one that have been published are all primary. Okay. The secondary one are actually still in progress. So I will not show if, let's say, the papers are not published yet. When it is published, then I will show it to you. But at the moment, the published one are all primary and what is it? The experiment one. Okay. So let's look at the example from here. Okay, from your friends. Okay. So at the moment here, you can see that when you talk about data, right? Okay. Okay, but in this case, I was helping the students to construct to actually write the data and methods. That's why I mentioned that this is about the use of e-government reporting system. So this questionnaire distributed to 600 students. Why a lot? Because we are using convenient. When you are using convenient, you have to select more data. Okay, and then what else? Yep, and okay, and then we are using different methods. Okay, how about this one? This is the secondary one. Okay. So you have your objective, right? So you have to be clear. If let's say you have two objectives, to achieve the objective, this is secondary data, right? Especially, I think Ali is also using this. So if you are having that, so okay, you have a proper way on how to present your data. So how to present your method. Let me show it here. Okay. So number 3, remember the heading should be data and method, right? But she put model specification. Nothing's wrong. It's just that it's good if you write a proper heading, because model specification will tell you the what we call the equation. You are specifying your model. That's it. But under model specification, you also have data source. So data source shouldn't be under model specification. That's why somehow the heading is not really accurate. So your heading should be data and method. And then after data and method, you shouldn't jump into model specification, because in order for you to come up with this model, you have to know what are the source of your data, right? So before going to model specification, this will be later. What you can do is that you mention about the data source and how do you measure it. You can. So your data source, how do you collect the data? From the World Bank, blah, blah, blah. And after mentioning the data or the source of the data and how do you measure it, and then you have to list down the variable. Okay, you can put whatever heading as long as it shows that is your variable. And how do you describe your variable, blah, blah, blah. So you start with your data, source of data, and then variable. After having your variable, then from that you come up with your model specification. So can you see that sometimes the point is there, but the thing is you put everything here and there. So I have to rearrange that in my in my head to understand your point. So that's why I think that it's better for me to tell you the proper structure. It's not really something that something that you have to follow, but this is like a structure so that you can organize, it can assist your writing. Okay. So, and then you have the estimation method. This is fine. Okay. So I think because you have estimation method here, after the variable, you want to show what kind of method you're going to use. And then it's better to mention the method first, and then you come up with your equation later on. Okay, equation should be at the last because you want to estimate your equation. It should be last, but you put it first. Okay, but here, can you see what happened here? Designing the method, you did put the variable there. It's just that you didn't put it in a proper way, in a clear manner. So people is asking, okay, you have the variable. Where did you get it from? Okay. How do you analyze it? So you don't have a proper heading. So people are making assumption. Okay. So, and then you define what is the variable. So somehow the structure is here and there. Okay, so when you give the variable, and then you should define it later together with it. How do you measure it? So somehow, and then here is the equation. So it's good if, let's say, you have a proper standard, proper structure, give data and methods. Okay, number 3.0, data and method 3.1, source of data or data source, and then you follow a proper structure so that people can follow your discussion. Okay, so next, what's next? Because many of you are doing, okay, I forgot, justify, right? So whenever you are using something, remember I put target group, the zakat recipient, zakat payer, justify, because they are the potential payer. Everything that you pick, you have to justify. For example, here, where is it? Because to find the point should be here and there. Okay. Where is it? Method. Let me see. Because this is okay. So remember, under method, this is our expertise. So you have to be clear enough. Okay. Where is it? So here they are using. I'm using bibliometric. Okay. So under bibliometric, I'm collecting the data using Scopus, Scopus data. There are different types of data. You have Scopus, you have WOS, you have GS, blah, blah, blah. But when I just select Scopus, I tell because of blah, blah, blah. Whatever you do in the method, you have to explain. Okay. For example, here, where is it? I'm using rice. I'm actually doing the experiments on rice, but I did explain why did I use rice. Let me see. Where is it? Somewhere there, but it's hard to actually searching one by one, right? Where is it? Experiment. This is the experiment already. Where is the justifications? Okay, let me type. The justification is staple foods. STAPL. Next. Okay, another. Okay, this is also okay. I think the last one just now. Okay, so when we are talking about because here we wanna do the experiment, we wanna reduce the rice waste. So when we are choosing rice, so we have to justify why rice, right? Remember in the method you have to justify everything because rice is a staple food in many Asian countries, and actually it's not just a staple food; it is the most commonly frequently wasted. Okay, that's why we are using rice instead of vegetables, instead of bread, instead of other things. So we try to reduce the rice waste instead of other types of food. So whatever you say something, you have to justify in the method. Okay, for example, you are talking about students. Just now for this paper, because as I mentioned to you, I was the one who did the data and method. So we are using university student. You have to justify why university student, because we identify them as the potential or users of the government system, because we assume that they are the smart generation. Later on, they will be working and they will be the one who is using the reporting system. Basically, the right respondent shouldn't be student. It should be those who are working in the government sector or in the non-government sector, the working people. But because it's hard for us to get them, so the best sample, the second best sample are student. But then you have to justify why. Okay, if you couldn't justify, so people will question you. Why don't you survey other group, not this group? So justify so that it will not let people to question your method or to question your target group. Okay, so the same thing with another paper here. You talk about ASEAN. Remember, you talk about ASEAN. You are talking about Tanzania. You are talking about specific group, specific country. You have to justify. Don't simply, okay, I want to study ASEAN. That's it. So you have to, that's why sometimes because of the issues are severe, remember just now here I mentioned about, where is it? Is it in the bibliometric? Is it here? Okay, so yeah, I mentioned about, okay, there is a positive correlation between income and waste generation. High income produce more waste, but then the problem is even severe in low income country. That's why, because of that, you want to focus on low income country. So you have to actually justify. Your justification can be in introduction. Sometimes you want to emphasize on the problem, or it can be explained in the method. So it's up to you. But you, whatever it is, you have to justify why you choose that, why you use specific method, OLS, not the other method, GLS, whatever, right? So you have to justify. And then now, let's move to, yeah, we are on the methods and data, right? And then, so basically, of course, the LR, the literature review, will help you to find the right method. Okay. And the literature review can also advise you with regards to the data. If let's say you are using secondary, they will tell you, okay, you can find the data from IMF, from the World Bank, from Departments of Statistics, whatever. They will advise you regarding that. The same thing with primary. If let's say the literature review are always looking at the using the primary, so they will also advise you on that. Okay. Okay. So, and sometimes you can also discuss with your instructor about the data and method. Finding. So finding is something general. Okay. So of course, when you have done the previous one, intro, LR, data and method. So finding is just if your data and methods are clear, your finding is just as simple, because you know how to use the method, so you will get the finding straight away. So under the finding, sometimes you want to have descriptive statistic or exploratory type of information. You are just explaining the case study. Okay. And or it can be and or you can also have empirical analysis. This is where you're going to use a proper method. But when you are using empirical analysis, you have to cite your finding. Sometimes the problem with you are, okay, this is my result from OLS, blah, blah, blah. So let's say I got this negative, positive relationship. That's it? No, you have to cite the LR. If let's say your finding is actually supporting the LR, you can say that, okay, my result is actually in line, okay, inconsistent with whatever who said A and B. Okay, but then, so people can say that, oh, your result is actually the same with the previous one. So your result is correct. For example, you can say that, somehow, however, my result is the opposite. The previous study shows a negative relationship. I found positive. So if your result is against the literature, you have to justify why. So you have to definitely justify. The problem with the student is that they got a different result. They stop as it is. Pop. That's it. No, if your result is different, that is where your contribution will come in. Okay, for example, in the previous study, you are looking at European study, but then you are looking, your current study is on ASEAN. So European study and ASEAN are two different countries, two different region, right? So you may get different result because you are looking at different demographic, different geographic condition. So maybe they are using smaller sample size. You are looking at a longer duration. They are using different method. So you can justify. You have to justify why your result is different. Okay, so that is empirical one. But the problem, so let me so okay, show here. This is the examples of the what is it, actual data and the perception data. So with the finding, so this is the finding. You can put result and discussion. You can just put finding, you can just put result, or you can just put discussion. It's up to you. Okay, so when you have the discussion, I mean when you have the result, okay, Let me see. Where is it? Everything. Mm, because the variable is here. These are the variable that you basically I'm reviewing the variables. So you wanna see where is it? Um mm, ah okay. Um okay. So based on the whatever result you got, so you are showing that okay, informations on pollution, this is the actual data. Can actually whatever. So you cite these are the studies that actually support your finding. So whatever you finding, education may impact people behavior. So according to him, so basically you are also get the same result. Okay. Income is linked to purchasing power and could influence people behavior. So these are the study that also support you. So whatever you mention your result, you have to cite those who are actually getting the same result. Gender also influence people behavior. So the same with this. Okay, so you are citing them to show that you are in line with them. Okay, yeah. So these are the one example. What else? Let me see in the zakat case about the finding. Not this one. Finding. Where is the variables? Variable. Huh. Okay, this is clearer, I think. Clearer. This finding, I'm not sure whatever finding, is consistent with the result of previous study in which a lack of publicity, blah, blah, blah. So you are saying that whatever you got is consistent with the previous finding. What are the previous finding? So you cite them. Okay, and then this is also studies that actually in line with you. Okay, so you cite. So whatever your result you got, you should say whether it is in line, consistent with the previous finding, or contradicted with the previous finding. If it is contradicted, you have to justify. Okay, that is always lacking. Let me see. This. Well, here the problem is okay. The problem with this paper is that I was the one who did the data and method and also the result. So you can see here when we got the result shows transparency, blah, 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 a significant factor in affecting people behavior to use the reporting system. So I mentioned that these findings are consistent with the previous literature, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So similarly, you also got the same thing. Okay. So you are supporting it. So let's see the other paper, which I didn't do anything about it. Okay. Where is the result? The result. The problem is this result is conflicting, and somehow when I look at the result, it doesn't support the previous finding. The result are what we call the result is actually stand by its own. So you cannot see that from here. Okay, the discussion. Let's see the discussion. Whatever you got here. So the conclusion. So you didn't refer to the previous one. So remember, you have conducted your literature review, and then from that, you proceed with the data and method. Okay, you have your data, you analyze your data, and then you got the result. So you want to see whether your result is actually the same with the previous result. So you shouldn't review the literature review, that's it. And then when you got the result, it is stand by its own. You have to check your result to make sure that you are getting the same result to strengthen your discussion. If you don't if you don't map with the previous study, so it doesn't show that you are actually using the literature review. Remember, the purpose of literature review is to guide you to do your paper. At the same time, the literature review is meant to check whether your result is actually correct or not correct, whether you are consistent or not consistent. But not consistent doesn't mean that your result is not correct. Just because sometimes you have different background, different problem, so it will come out with different result. And if it is not consistent, if it is against contradicted with the previous study, so you can actually give what we call new information to the literature. Okay, that is the result. But none of you, based on the example here, are actually comparing your result with the literature review. That is the biggest, one of the problem or one of the mistake that you should avoid. Okay, so that is the result. And then you have conclusion, limitation. Okay. So I just noticed that in the literature review we have covered the literature review, but right, but then somehow when I opened the students' paper, I saw some problem with the literature review. Should we just proceed, or you want to get back to the literature review and see the problem? Should we proceed or get back to the literature review and see the problem? What is it? Anyone?
Just have to say the problem.
The problem. Okay, so see. Okay, just a very quick one. So, okay, where is it here? Okay, so this is the mismatch between the objective and literature review. Remember, when you do the literature review, when you review the literature, the previous study may give you some idea what kind of objective that you can actually explore, right? But the problem here is that, okay, you see the objective. Let me scroll up a bit. Where is the, okay, remember? Okay, the objective is to analyze the relationship between what variable? Political stability and food security. Remember, we are looking at political stability and food security. Second, we want to see the impacts of political stability on food availability, accessibility, and utilization. Okay, two things, political stability and food security. Political stability on food availability, accessibility, and utilization. Okay, so you have to review the article that talk about these two things. Let's see the literature review. Okay, literature review. Okay, the first one, this is the literature review, right? I don't know why I mistakenly skipped this part when I discussed the literature review. You want to see the impacts of, remember the first objective, political stability and food security. This is fine. You want to see the impact. Is it positive, negative? Right? Okay. So you can see that there is a few studies, just one paragraph. So, because political stability is just one of the factor that can affect food security. There are many factors can affect food security. But if you're just looking at one variable, one factor, so your literature review might be very limited, right? Okay, so this is fine. But when you review a study, people want to see more, right? To show that you have covered everything. If you see my zakat paper, where is the this is objective already. This is result. Okay, where is the, okay, if you look at the literature, it's like where is the literature review? It's like this is the conceptual. So remember, I review the theory of planned behavior, and I also review the variable. Okay, you can see these are all the literature review. And then under the data and methods, for the method, where is the variable? Just yeah, the variable. So it's about 2.5 pages. Many things that we want to review. But here, just one paragraph. So one paragraph is not sufficient. But the thing is, you can see that you are only looking at one variable, one factors. So so you something is wrong with the topic. You have to broaden the topic so that you can have many literature. But the problem here is that you are reviewing one factor that can affect food security. That's why you have a very limited literature. And then after that, okay, because I want to make sure that your literature review is tally with the objective. The first one is tally with the objective, even though the literature is limited. Second, policy respond to political stability. Are you looking at policy response in the objective? No, you're not looking at this. So what is the reason for you to review this part, this heading? So whenever you review something because you want to translate it into your objective, but this is nothing to do with your objective. Can you see that? And then it's a long discussion, but it has nothing to do with your objective. Climate change. You are introducing a very big factor here, a very big variable, but it is not even mentioned in your objective. What is it for? So remember, that's why sometimes people will just review anything and it has nothing to do with their objective. Don't do that. Okay, so whatever you want to review, make sure that they are relevant to your topic, relevant to your objective. Okay, that is the issues that I found that I think you have to take note of it. Okay, unless you want to broaden your topic for security, you covers environmental impact, you covers a few things, then you can have it. But at the moment, your objective is not represented, if not translated from this literature review. Okay, so that is literature review. Okay, let me move forward to finding is done. Limitation. Okay, this is very common among you guys. Once you finish your finding and discussion, conclusion, you conclude everything. And after conclusion, reference, that's it. Okay, limitation can be before conclusion, or it can be after conclusion. It can be also joint conclusion and limitation. You can combine them as well. But whatever it is, you have to have limitation in your paper. Okay? Why is that? There is no such thing as a perfect work. Remember, we are human being. We tend to make mistakes, right? And sometimes we are dealing with many limitations. For example, you're talking about data. You cannot collect the whole population, right? So you will just study the sample. So that is your limitation as well. And sometimes your sample is very small. Okay, that is also a limitation. Sometimes when you talk about time series data, when you talk about secondary data, you are just looking at from 1990 to 2000, maybe 2020. You cannot cover the latest data because the data is not available. That is your limitation. You can cover previous data because that is also not available. So there are so many limitations, right? So you have to have it in your paper. There is no way that you don't have it. Why do you have the limitation? Because you want to suggest for future study. There must be a room for future study. When you have limitation, so you allow people to conduct a future study from your paper. Okay, which none of them have given the limitation. So let me show you in the Zakat paper. I don't know where is it. I will just type limitation. Okay. Although I have reviewed the whole paper on Zakat, but still there are a few limitations. Okay. And because of the limitation, you need further investigation. You want to allow room for future study. Okay. So you list down blah, 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 whatever your limitation. Okay. Look at here. Do you have limitation here? There must be limitation. Okay. Let me put limitation. Okay. Previous. Where is here? Limit. Given the large amounts of okay. Okay, somewhere here. Conclusion and policy. Okay. Limitation here is about okay. Okay. So remember here the objective of having limitation because you want to allow rooms for future study. Okay. In this case, because we are doing experiment. So here, what do we put is actually, where is it? Where is the point? Okay, okay. So instead of putting limitation, we are saying that there are numerous opportunity for future study. Future study can, basically we are telling that instead of saying this is our limitation, we are using a nice word. There are actually many opportunities for future study. They can, blah, 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 they can do whatever. In addition, they can use cost benefit analysis on a broader scale. At the moment, we are using at a small scale. So this is our limitation, but we didn't really write down the limitation. We put like many rooms for improvement. The same thing, right? So we list down a few things under the limitation, but I didn't put the word limitation. Okay. So basically, you have to write it down. So let me see for the what we call bibliometric. Here I specifically mentioned, okay, like any other research publication, this study has some limitation, blah, 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 blah. So whatever it is, whatever, you have to show that, of course, there is no way that your study is perfect, right? Let me put here limitation. Okay, so basically, I don't really have to show the example for everything. You just have to put some limitation, okay, to show that you will allow for some improvement in the future study. Conclusion. Okay, this is last part. Finally, okay. So basically, in conclusion, you have two parts, but many students didn't realize it. So in conclusion, what do you have? You have to conclude all your finding. So my finding is that there is a negative relationship, blah, blah, blah. Second finding, so in your conclusion, you have to conclude the finding from your objective. You have three objectives. So the first conclusion, you can conclude blah, blah, blah. Second, you can conclude blah, 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 until whatever, right? You can conclude. And then the second part of it that you miss, many students miss, suggestion for policy implications or improvement. So policy implication could be for government, it could be for practitioner, it could be for industry. When you talk about zakat, you want to suggest for the zakat institution. If you want to, so it depends who are affected by your study, who are affected by the problem. Okay, so you have to suggest for policy implication for someone to take action on that. Okay, so if let's say you talk about zakat, where is the zakat one? This is limitation. Okay. So this is just to conclude the finding. Okay. Institution should establish blah 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 because you are talking about zakat institution. So you should tell them, you should actually propose a solution for them. Okay, because they want to know this. Okay. So if you talk about this rise, what is the conclusion? You conclude everything first. What is it? Wait. Who is affected by this? Utilizing. So, Malaysian government. Okay. It support the Malaysian government initiative, but then somehow along this discussion, basically we are telling the government to actually do something about it. So you want to see, basically in the conclusion, you want to give suggestion. Remember the reason for you to conclude your study because you find a problem, and then from the problem you analyze it, and then you get the result. From that result, you want to suggest what we call a solution. You want to propose something. So if you want to propose something, there must be someone who will be what we call in charge of it, right? You want to propose to whom? To household to reduce their food waste, or you want to propose to government to implement a strict policy, whatever. So there must be someone that you want to suggest so that they can do something to improve the problem, to improve the situation. Okay, so conclusion, two things. You conclude your finding. Second, you want to give your solution. That's it. Okay, so I think I've covered everything in a lengthy time. Any question from you? And also give you some example. Don't be so personal. I'm sharing it so that we can learn from the current work. Basically, when you have a paper, it shows that you are actually you are there. You're almost there. Okay, so it's good. Some people don't even have a paper, but now you have a paper. It's just that we want to polish it. We want to improve it. Okay. So any question from you? We have Najat. Najat, you have question? You have. Remember, I have written your. Najat has produced 2 papers. It's just that you now are under revision, right? So Najat, do you have any question? I haven't checked your papers in details, but I did give you a general comments, right? Do you have anything? So make sure that when you are doing your revisions for your 2 papers, please incorporate our discussion. Do you have anything you want to ask, Najat? Najat, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here, yeah, Prof. I think everything is okay, so I'll just go through the comments and then just update what you have explained.
Okay. So make sure, thank you, Najat. Make sure that you try to shorten and make your writing more concise. At the moment, you wrote a lot of things, which sometimes you can concise them. Okay. Okay. Ali, do you have anything?
Madam, no. Thank you.
Okay, so for you, Ali, as I mentioned to you, I will be waiting the comment from Dr. Zakaria. Once he has given his comment, you will do the revision. I will be the last gatekeeper. So once you have done the revision, I will double check on everything. Okay, so that if let's say he overlooked at something, I can actually look at it. Okay.
Okay. I think
Okay.
I already got the comment from the Korea. So
Mm-hmm.
I do the double check and I do some of revision.
Mm-hmm.
So after 1 hour, I will try to submit for the new draft that I did all the comments. Inshallah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, Balkis, you have anything? You have your current paper with you, your group paper. So do you have anything? Because if you are doing your master, you are expected to produce a paper by yourself. So I think this is a good exposure. Anything you want to ask?
No, doctor, it's clear.
No. Okay. So I think we can end our discussion. Hopefully, you guys are getting some benefit from this lengthy discussion. So let's end the class with Suratul As and Tasbih Kafarah. Okay. So okay, I will just leave the call, okay? And take care everyone.
Thank you, doctor.
Mm-mm.
Thank you. Dr.
Okay.